Hey guys, welcome back to the Jedi in Exile. You guys know what time it is. No, this isn't High School Musical 2. It's Andor Season 1, Episode 6 review time for us. So if you've
Yes.
missed the other 5 episodes reviews, then you can go back on our page. Please hit like, please subscribe, then you won't miss any of our videos in future. But yeah, we're technically now halfway through Andor. So give me your thoughts. This was a longer episode. 54 minutes
I
was
was
the
gonna say
runtime. We know a
just
few
under
minutes of
an
that is
hour.
like the
Yeah.
credits. Yeah. So talk to me about episode 6, Matthew.
So I'm gonna tell you now. I felt like they very easily could have ended the series there and used whatever they got planned for the second half of this series of season two, and people would have been happy. I felt like this was kind of, I know it's only 6 episodes, but this was kind of throwing it back to all of those shows on American TV that run really well, where they have that like mid-season finale before they take a month or
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
6 weeks break before they then come back. Like this felt like a really natural kind of stopping point that left it on enough of a cliffhanger that you want to come back and watch again, but also that you still got some kind of some closure in that part and that chapter of the story is kind of closed. For me, this delivered everything that I wanted this show to deliver, and that is this kind of spy war kind of heist situation, but not in a typical kind of Star Wars way. There was, I'm, I'm gonna say there was death, and that sounds like people are
Yeah,
going,
we've
oh,
lost.
but
I'm surprised how many people we actually lost in this episode
yeah,
of the heist.
but like people are gonna say, oh, but there was death in A New Hope because Obi-Wan like obviously gets killed, and there was death in The Force Awakens because like Han dies and all of that kind of stuff. But this felt very kind of, this wasn't like a big
It was
drawn out,
gritty.
yeah, this it
No.
wasn't this big drawn out kind of the way that Obi-Wan dies with the like one-on-one fight with
Yeah, for
Vader,
the
and it's this
greater
big
good and all
dramatic
that.
moment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
all of these were genuinely just like, wow, someone's just died. Wow, somebody else has just died.
Yeah, I think it was
Somebody else
just
just
like
died.
it was very real life, wasn't it? Like when the guy, can't remember his name, the one who died when all the coins basically went into him that they operated on, um, the like philosopher of the group. That was a very like real moment that with the propulsion of the ship leaving, that the coins battered into him. Like that's a real life scenario, and I feel like Star Wars doesn't really have a lot of those. Like, well, surely they'd be injured by that or they'd be hurt by this. Like Star Wars doesn't really have that, and Hollywood in general doesn't have that. And I thought that was a nice actual real moment. I'm quite intrigued as to where Cassian Andor actually goes from here, because I assumed that the heist, I knew there'd be some trouble, but I assumed they'd all kind of make it out and then they'd go to whichever rebel group they're part of. Like we see in Rebels with like Kanan's got his little circle. Um, so I'm really intrigued as to where the next 6 episodes take us. Because I mean I liked the episode. Don't get me wrong. I think it's what the series needed when we got to this episode, because it has been quite slow, quite drawn out. They've obviously done some world building. I actually have a feeling that the next 6 episodes, a lot can happen. Um, I was really hoping when we saw Mon Mothma talking in the Senate, and it's given me massive, obviously, prequel vibes, and Clone Wars. I was so hoping to get like a glimpse of the Emperor or something, or Masamida, like someone there, because
Just
obviously
like
you
a
could
little,
see,
just a little
well,
fan service, little
you could,
cameo.
yeah, you could see the podium, couldn't you? And I was waiting for her, maybe another senator who we know from the prequels, to maybe come in and talk. I wonder whether we'll see a bit of Bale, whether we'll get any Jimmy Schmitz. Obviously, he's got a little cameo in Rogue One. Um, so no, I'm excited that I feel like the second half of the series there'll be a lot more about Mon Mothma, and I am really excited for that. I'm excited to see her story, her husband, her daughter, um, where that kind of takes us, and obviously Luthen at the end. I'm really intrigued. Every scene I see Luthen in his shop, I'm like, where's the Easter egg? Where's the Easter egg? So like, I was watching the episode the first time round on my phone, and I was like holding my phone up, like squinting, trying to see, and I paused it to see like what artifacts were there. There's just so much that's like being dripped in these episodes, episode by episode. But I'm just so excited for the rest of the series.
Yeah, I mean, this one for me was pretty ideal. I felt I genuinely couldn't stop watching. I was on edge for almost the entire. I'm gonna call it the heist because that's essentially what it was. But I was on edge for all of it, and the fact that some of it didn't quite go to plan, and that was always going to happen to like ramp up the drama and ramp up the suspense. But just really good. Really enjoyed it. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And then for all of that to kind of loop back to, I felt like this is where Cassian's moral compass was kind of spinning circles for a little while. But my theory is that he killed, is it Skeen?
Yeah, yeah,
I think he killed Skeen for the greater good. I think he killed Skeen because he knew that Skeen basically would do over the others at the first opportunity. And the fact that he's then walked in there and said, all I want is what I was promised. I could have run off with all of this, or I could have run off with half of this, or whatever. I only want which is a drop in the ocean compared to how much they've actually stolen.
yeah. And I like that he was given the manifesto. Obviously, that the philosopher guy was, talking to him about, and going through like the whole political side of it. Of why the rebellion exists, why it's needed, why they want to overthrow the empire. And I feel like that could be something quite big that, almost like his, the Karl Marx's, book for communists and, Mein Kampf for the Germans back in the day. Like, it's that kind of book in the Bible nowadays. Like, it's a book that the rebellion maybe is going to, like,
Be built
stand
on.
by and live
Yeah.
by, yeah, and be built on. So I feel like something like that, like Cassian clearly isn't. It's such a different Cassian, and we said this in I think episode 2, maybe, or 3. This is such a different Cassian to Rogue One, but we're slowly seeing that transition. In the line he says in Rogue One, "I've been in this rebellion, since I was 5 years old or 6 years old." So we're starting to see, like you say, he doesn't really have too much of a moral compass, but that's now coming in.
Well, I think this is where we're starting to kind of see that thing of he's always been a fighter and he's always fought against this stuff, but he's done it
Fought
out
for
of,
himself, hasn't he?
yeah, he's
Like,
done it out of
self-preservation.
self-preservation, exactly. And this is him starting to see glimpses of, well, there's people out there that don't necessarily do that. There's people out there that do this for the greater good.
Yeah.
There's people out there that kind of,
Yeah,
will
there's
look
people
at the bigger
fighting.
picture.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested to see how this works. And like you, I kind of thought, maybe not all of them survive, but I thought it was definitely leading down that path of, well, the guy's died, and this is going to be the trigger. This is going to be him going, that shouldn't have happened. He was a good guy. Like, I need to do something about this type thing. And that doesn't look like that's where it's going at all.
No.
It looks like we're getting maybe slightly more conflicted Cassian than we got in the first couple episodes, but still very much that older Cassian of, what do I get from this? I'm doing this for my benefit and nobody else's.
Yeah. I think this probably shows this heist, and also the fact that obviously Cassian went to the group. They've been living off roots. They're obviously, they've been deprived, but they've been doing this for the greater good. I think we're going to see that this is where probably Mon Mothma and the higher people in the rebellion come into this, that this rebellion needs funding. Obviously, that's why they've stolen the sector's pay, I'm assuming, to strike a blow to the Empire, number one. But number two, it helps fund them, that they can buy weapons, ships, all the stuff that a rebellion needs. They can be almost self-sufficient with that. So I think it's probably going to maybe, it's obviously made headlines, and that's how the episode ended, with the whole, there's been a rebel attack. Also, can we just say about the effects of the eye, like how it was made? Like, that eye looked incredible, didn't it? With is it like meteors basically coming through? Like, shooting stars, yeah. I thought that was pretty incredible. So, big props to that big circle thingy where they shoot.
Not filmed on that.
Oh, was it not filmed on
No,
that?
I'm sure I read something. Let us know down in the comments if this is right or not. But
Yeah, because I assumed those scenes
I'm sh-
when they're in like the ship were filmed in that.
I'm sure I read something that said that they didn't use it for this series at all.
Oh, really?
I'm
Oh,
sure that
that's so
that's what I read.
interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That would be well. That's really cool. I know they filmed on set because there's been some photos released today. Actually, now we're time of recording is Thursday, the 13th of October. Um, Now I've seen photos released this morning of the actresses that play Cinta and
Vel,
Vel.
Vel.
Yeah, they released some on shoot like behind the scenes photos, and they are on set. Um, So yeah, it's interesting actually because I assumed it was the special effects with the the circular room they've used for like Kenobi, Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett. But no, I thought the eye looked like spectacular.
I just think this series. I know we kind of we gave it some quite low scores to begin with, and it's been trending really well.
We learned that
Um,
from
but
other.
yeah, and I actually think that it has like I don't want to say it's been slow because I feel like that's a really easy thing to throw at something when you just want to
Yeah.
criticize, and that's not why I'm doing it at all. I understand the need for it. It's not necessarily a massive criticism that it's been slow because I do understand why, but it has been slow. They have been drip feeding us stuff, and this was the really explosive episode. Even when we talked about the premiere 3 episodes, and we said 1 and 2 were slow, 3 was significantly better. 3 still wasn't that big blockbuster kind of episode, and I felt like this was, and it wasn't even that it was super actiony constantly, because actually the first half of the heist was all tension, drama, building into it. Are people in the right position? Is it going to go to plan? Like all of that, but it's still. I think this episode really delivered for me, and I'm really excited to see what they do. I'm fully expecting a couple more slow episodes again to kind of take us back down off this high of all of this stuff. But I'm really excited to see what they do over the next 6
Well,
episodes.
I think so. Yeah. So let's talk about going forward. So I mean, clearly Mon Mothma's going to play a really important part. Clearly stating the obvious, Andor clearly is the season's named after
No,
him.
I don't think he's in it anymore.
I think also someone, you got Luthen, but someone who I think's going to play a part is the blonde woman in the Empire.
Yeah, the one that it keeps cutting to.
'Cause I keep thinking she's maybe a spy for the rebels, but then I'm like, no, I don't actually feel like she is. But she's risen up the ranks really quickly. She's only been in there for a year, and then she's been assigned her job for the last year.
Well, I'm
There's
hoping
obviously
that.
a lot of jealousy in the Empire's ranks,
Well,
and you've got
it's between her. The big thing was between her and Doc Brown, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So like he was that was their rivalry.
yeah.
And then
And
kind
then
of
we didn't see the guy who
the
from
security guy.
the security. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's I feel like there's so many storylines. We're basically seeing like a Love Actually / Valentine's Day film here. Like there's so many little storylines that have just got to mesh into one eventually. And we talk about the spider's web, but I feel like that truly is coming in these next 6 episodes. There's something building here. You know, something really, and I have no idea what it is, but my prediction is something's going to happen. You
Well,
heard it here first.
Will
Something is going to happen.
Will Colin Firth and Hugh Grant find their true loves? That is the question. Keira
Yeah.
Knightley, eat your heart out. But no, I agree with you, and I think this is gonna kind of all these threads are being put out there, and there's gonna be a point where it all becomes clear, and I'm super excited for it. I think we should roll around to scores.
Yeah, I agree. So, what are you giving this episode out of 10?
I'm gonna go 9.
Wow, bold.
I honestly, this has been the best episode of the series. It's
Yes.
been I without being that guy, I don't know how much I could fault it. There are a few bits that I potentially wouldn't have necessarily done in the way that they did them, which is why I'm kind of knocking that mark off. But I don't think there's much you can fault about this episode.
No, I kind of agree. I thought it was a good episode. I didn't feel like it. I don't feel like it's a 9 or a 10 personally. I mean, my score, I'm going to give it an 8. Because I feel like
Poor.
Yeah,
He's in a
this
bad mood, guys. He's in a bad
it's
mood.
it's hard to explain this, but I feel like yes, it was a good episode, but I feel like there's so much more to come from this series
Which I
that
get.
I actually feel
You
like
need
the
to leave
other
yourself
episodes.
space.
Yeah, I need to leave myself a bit of room for the other episodes
Some
to get
headroom
there.
to...
No, I feel like it's. I think judging it on this series, I'd like an episode where we see some of Cassian, but we see the role of like Luth and Mon Mothma, and that's. I think we got that in the last episode. Episode 5 was a nice mix of Cassian getting ready for the heist. You had Mon Mothma and her husband. The scenes in like the car, the daughter not really getting on with Mon Mothma. You had Luthen in his shop. So I want more. I want more of that, and I think that's going to come, and
I hate
that's
to
why
break
I'm
it to
giving
you,
this
mate.
episode an 8.
I hate to break it to you. The show's called Andor.
It should be called Andor and Friends.
No, that's fair. So 8. So
Yeah.
average out of an 8.5. So,
Yeah, which is still, listen, it's a good score out of 10.
and we are massively trending in the right direction. If the second half of the series does the same thing, as I said, I'm expecting a drop off. That's just me setting my own expectations because we're gonna we've kind of hit a bit of a high. There's going to be a lull to build it back up again. But if the second half of the season kind of carries on that trend, amazing. We're gonna be hitting 10s by the end of the season. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely.
So let us know in the comments down below if you agree with that. What did you guys think of this episode? Obviously, we absolutely loved it. But what do you think is going to come in the second half of the season? Let us know. While you're down there, hit like, hit subscribe. You know the drill by now. All that great stuff. And all that is left to say, guys, is we will see you all real soon in the next one.
May the force be with you guys.